I call the July 16th, 2019 Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:45 p.m. Chair would entertain a motion for consideration of claims.
Go ahead, Corey.
I would make a motion of consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $280,435.57, manual checks in the amount of $555.97, payroll and liabilities for 7/2/2019 in the amount of $207,112.29, for a total of $488,103.83.
I would second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions on the claims?
I just have one question, if I may. Mia, I was curious, how do we determine is it the deposit amounts that I'm seeing refunded when I look at this? As far as, let me get the exact wording on here. Of course, I would lose it now. But my assumption is it's their water deposit that they're getting back?
Your Honor, that's a great question, Councilman. We charge a deposit of $150 for any party that is setting up a utility service where they don't own the property. And at the time that they move out of the property, that deposit is applied towards the balance on their account. It also generally will cover their final billing if they have not made payment for that, and then the remaining amount is refunded to them.
Simple enough. Thank you very much.
You're
So
welcome.
that's why we see it's different amounts. It's not always a consistent, like $150 or whatever. Sometimes it's their final bill is applied to it, something like that.
That is correct. And the deposit amount is the same for everybody. It's just the amount of the refund varies dependent upon the status of their account.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
No, sir.
I guess I would just note something, that this is one of the first times we have contract for services coming out. So we had the payments, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the city of Riverton, we paid a lot of different organizations in the community that provide services that are really something that is necessary in the community. So, for example, just going through them, so Big Brothers Big Sisters, this is the first time we've made any payment to them. Our Recreation, Eagles Hope, Fremont County Good Samaritan, Fremont County Youth Services, the Injury Prevention Resources Program, PAWS, Chamber of Commerce, Riverton Volunteer Firefighters, and the Volunteers of America. So the first payments, I guess, of the fiscal year, if I'm not mistaken, are coming out now. So I guess just so people know a little bit about where some of the money is going. We had heard presentations earlier this year from each of those organizations and made decisions. All of that became a part of the budget. So,
Your Honor,
yes.
in addition to that, those contracts have been prepared and they are under review. They have not been finalized yet. We did request the payment for your approval during this meeting because we won't be meeting again for 3 more weeks, and we'd like to be able to get those checks released out to the entities as soon as we get the contracts back.
Right. Great. All right. Well, okay, then let's vote on the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion passes. Any other business before the Finance Committee?
No, Your Honor.
No, sir.
Okay, then we stand adjourned at 6:49 p.m.
July 16th, 2019, regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Councilman Bailey would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll give us the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear kind Heavenly Father, how grateful we are for the opportunity to meet this evening and to discuss the affairs of the city of Riverton. We ask that you be with us, that we might be mindful of the things that thou would have us do this evening, that we might work hard for the citizens of Riverton, that we might accomplish the things that would improve the quality of life in our community. We ask for thy Spirit to be with us, and we do these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Would the city clerk please conduct a roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Carla Borders.
Here.
Councilman Tim Hancock.
Here.
Councilman Mike Bailey.
Here.
Councilwoman Rebecca Schatza.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Councilman Corey Rhoda.
Here.
Mayor Richard Gard.
Here. I declare a quorum present. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the addition of the open container permit application received from the Boot Barn in addition to the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Larson and a second by Councilwoman Schatza. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, say aye, or say nay. The motion passes. Communication from the floor. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item which is already on the agenda will be given the opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify themselves for the record. Seeing none, oh, there we got one.
Yes, I'm Larry Wallace with the Wind River Animal Welfare Association. Mayor and city council members, I gave you some photographs there when I came in, which represent some of the comments I want to make here briefly. The first picture you see there is of a 1937 Chevrolet pickup truck, which I saw downtown there on Main Street a few days ago and decided to take a few pictures. I was able to talk to the owner of the truck, who was in the mood to sell it, and he told me that that truck, 37 Chevrolet, had a top speed of 50 miles an hour. And I thought, wow, that was a big speed back in 37. But today, we have trucks that are 2 or 3 times heavier than that. That will go probably at least twice as fast as that, if not more. And they present the modern-day pickup trucks a great hazard to the wildlife on our highways. The second picture I gave you is a picture of a deer fetus, which I found on the side of the road back in March, just outside North Lander. The mother had been hit by some kind of vehicle coming over the hill about 65 miles an hour, and the deer fetus was laying close to the mother. So in respect for that little life, I took it and with me and preserved it and plan to use it in maybe a school science class. The third picture shows what a heavy, larger, modern-day vehicle can do to wildlife, basically just mangling a deer at the side of the road. Many times I find myself stopping to pull them off the highway. But I think the picture evidence seems to indicate that the real victims in our deer problem are not humans, but rather the animals themselves, who are left at the side of the road, by careless drivers going too fast, not paying attention to the signs and the warnings. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Appreciate it. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, July 2nd, 2019, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, July 2nd, 2019, executive session. Approval of the minutes, July 9th, 2019, special council meeting / work session. Approval of the minutes, July 16th, 2019, finance committee meeting. Approval of the finance committee recommendations for July 16th, 2019. Approval of the municipal court report for the month of June 2019. And 3 open container permit applications, the first for Bar 10 for a street dance in front of Bar 10 on July 19, 2019 from 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. Riverton Chamber of Commerce for a Live at 5 event at City Park on July 31st, 2019 from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Kathy Schilling Family Reunion at Sunset Park on August 10th, 2019 from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. And the addition of the 4th open container permit is the Boot Bar for a street dance at 702 East Main on July 19th, 2019 from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Thank you. Are there any items requiring further discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
the recommendations from the Finance Committee for bills to be paid in the amount of $280,435.57, manual checks in the amount of $555.97, payroll liabilities for July 2nd, 2019 in the amount of $207,112.29, for a total of $488,103.83.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the consent agendas as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilwoman Schatz and a second by Councilman Rhoda.
Your Honor, I would abstain from the Bailey Enterprises item on the Finance Committee report.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Cooperative piggyback purchase of one construction manager's work truck. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. During the budget process, the City Council approved the purchase of one vehicle for the construction manager. It's to replace his current pickup with a new one. We are able to utilize the state of Wyoming's procurement process on this, otherwise known as piggybacking. We do have to competitively bid all items that we procure, except for items that we can piggyback with the Wyoming, with the state of Wyoming, specifically in this case, the Department of Transportation. In 2019, the Department of Transportation worked on statewide bids. One of those bids, excuse me, was for a half-ton pickup, and we were able to work with them on that bid. Fremont Chevrolet actually was awarded that bid through the state of Wyoming, and we proposed that we purchase the construction manager's pickup using the piggyback program for the amount of $27,450, and $31,000 was budgeted for this vehicle. The remaining balance will be used to upfit the vehicle with safety lights. Otherwise, everything will come into budget. Thank you, Your Honor.
Super. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the purchase of one 2019 Chevy Silverado from Fremont Chevy GMC Buick in the amount of $27,450.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Bailey and a second by Councilwoman Schatz. Any discussion? I think the price is great. Whoever negotiated that was really good. It's like half price. Maybe you can get the rest of us one of those. Appreciate that. Hard at work. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Enberg Miller Engineering's IME contract amendment, landfill remediation study. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This item really is a follow-up to a work session that you had several months ago where Enberg Miller was able to come. We do have Steve Motel with us in the audience again today and discuss the landfill remediation issue, specifically what some of the remediation options are. To back up a little bit, in 2013, House Bill 65 was passed and it went to an enrolled act. And it basically created a program to remediate landfills across the state of Wyoming that were contaminated. The program allows for qualifying and eligible landfills and whoever operates the landfill a 75% cost share with the state of Wyoming to design, construct, and operate any remediation system. And that 75% cost coverage will last for 10 years. In order to enter the program, the DEQ obviously wants to make sure whatever remediation option is proposed works and works over time. The City of Riverton has retained Enberg Miller on 2 occasions for the city to analyze and best decide which remediation option fits our landfill, which does rank in the top 10 most contaminated landfills in the state of Wyoming. From the first 2 studies, we were able to learn about remediation options and about the specific contaminants that are within the groundwater and within the landfill itself. Staff had a follow-up meeting with DEQ and Inberg Miller on March 28, 2019 to discuss options and how to enter the program and begin remediating the landfill. During that discussion, a new remediation option was discussed, and that's that phytoremediation option that was presented to you several months ago. This seems to be an alternative remediation option that may be cost-effective and still efficient. DEQ seems open to the idea. However, for the city to enter into this remediation program, we have to have a study that proves that the phytoremediation would work in our instance before the contaminated water continued into the Wind River. Therefore, the City of Riverton proposes that we execute an amendment to the master service agreement with Inberg Miller to explore the options of phytoremediation and how well it specifically works to remediate our landfill. This program was included in the budget that was recently adopted. We have $36,500. Inberg Miller was very helpful to get us that number before the budget. And at this time, we're asking council to enter into this service contract and to give the Public Works Director signatory authority to execute that and move forward with this project. With that, thank you, Your Honor, and we'll stand for questions when it is time.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve amendment number 51 to the master service agreement between the City of Riverton and Enberg Miller Engineers, IME, for $36,500.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Larson and a second by Councilman Rhoda. Any further discussion?
Your Honor.
Please.
Kyle, could you tell me what this process is and how many shrubs and trees it's going to require to facilitate the removal of the streams? Or is that what the study is about?
Your Honor, that's really what the study is about. It will help quantify the amount of water that's working through the area and the level at which we need to implement the phytoremediation, how many shrubs and trees, et cetera.
Would you explain what that really is?
You know, Your Honor, we have an expert here in the audience, and if I can, I'd be happy to defer to him.
That'd be great.
Thanks a lot, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Steve Moult with Inberg Miller Engineers, Mayor, members of council. Appreciate being able to come again tonight. The study is basically looking at soil chemistry, vegetation types that are out there now, and actually doing a wetland delineation because that's part of the phytoremediation. Beyond that, I'm not a soil chemist, so I can't tell you how it all fits into the formula, but we do have, between the work session we had with you, we reached out to some experts around the country and describing the geology, the groundwater, the location. They think it's quite possible that it's a good habitat for this kind of thing. So I would defer the answers until we can get through the study, and then what that study will be basically a feasibility with cost estimates at a level that are similar to what we've done so far for the other alternatives that we've presented. Talked to DEQ this morning on some other matters, but they're very interested in seeing this proceed. They're not giving a blanket statement, but they would really like to see something like this work, and it seems like a perfect application for this kind of system. So,
With this data, will we be able to determine whether we do this phyto, whatever it's called at the end, and pump and treat?
Your Honor, the intent would be to do very little pump and treat, that this is really kind of a natural attenuation, enhanced natural attenuation. So the things we'll implement will be more wetlands perhaps, more vegetation, maybe slowing down the flow so the groundwater has a chance to interact with vegetation. As we discussed with staff, there's actually a possibility that there could be some additional cost sharing other entities to create more habitat, things like that. So to answer your question, the intent would be to try to do this without any active remediation system, whether it's pump and treat, hauling, capping, all those things that were all fairly expensive and with not a really good, some were not a really good long-term outcome. This perhaps is a longer-term outcome, but it's a little bit of a do-nothing, get the system in place and then just continue to monitor it. And those costs would be considerably less.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Steve, I guess one of the things we were talking about a little bit last time, I think, is that, for example, you were talking about agencies that could share the cost, like Ducks Unlimited. They have certain things that they do with, creating habitat that they might be able to. I mean, of course, can't say for sure, but that's just one of the ideas we talked about. And I guess the other thing is we're not talking about, having a tree be able to suck all the methane or whatever, but it's more so that it's a gradual release, I suppose, if I'm correct, with the help of water, plants, that sort of thing. Is that about accurate?
Yeah, Your Honor, the system will be a long process. So we won't see, probably in your terms, we won't see real positive results, but through the monitoring, we'll have to install some other monitoring points. We will, we'll be able to show no increases, but actual decreases. So it won't be an exciting project from that perspective, but I think it'll actually, there could be some actual benefits of additional use of that property. Maybe not the ball fields type of thing, but certainly habitat and availability for citizens to use the area on the surface.
There.
Mike, you had a question?
Well, I was reading through the additional information that got sent out to us today, and I see where the estimates broke down, but then also underneath in the paragraph underneath says that we estimate the cost for attending and presenting to City Council on May 14th is $800. I guess, can you tell me what
Your Honor,
it would be?
that was, I put that in there, but we never charged, we never accrued costs and charged for the meeting both we had with DEQ and city staff prior to the work session, and then preparation, and then presenting at the work session. I guess that, I throw that in there that perhaps that could be compensated. That's all.
Okay, so is that a by the hour type fee?
No. That was my estimate of what we've already incurred as part of leading up to tonight.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Well, so you're accounting for the hours you've spent doing that?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is that in addition to the 36,500?
It was intended to be in addition.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions? Steve, when the 75 split is the state funding of the project, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so by doing this, do we fall in the guidelines for the 10-year access window of trying to accomplish something that the DEQ's asked us to do?
Yeah, Your Honor, the way that works, and I think Kyle explained it pretty well, Enberg Miller's prepared some studies for you already, and we're not in the program, so technically those are not being considered part of the program. Our meeting with DEQ kind of outlined the steps by which they would now enter, the city would enter in the program. It's a legal document that you'll enter the program should you decide to do so at that time. We're going to write the work plan, and DEQ suggested this, that the work that we've done to the tune of, I don't know, 50,000 or something like that, the two studies we've done, we're going to write the work plan, so those would fall under the purview or within the program. So we're starting with 50,000 that you've already spent to get to where we are today. This 36 would be on top of that, and then if it looks feasible going into construction, then whether it's 100,000 or 200,000 for earthwork and vegetation, all told, those would qualify for the 75% reimbursement from the state.
Okay, that's what I was hoping for. Now, the other thing I remember from our last conversation, do I remember it correctly that our transfer of water is minimal towards the river? Is that
Your Honor, the last study we performed was a pump test for the purpose of defining the costs, better defining the costs for pump and treat. That was an item that DEQ was putting on, that was suggesting that was the solution without much data. And so when we actually did the pump test, we found, well, we'd have to put in so many wells close together because surprisingly, I guess it's surprisingly because you think it's sands and gravels down there, but it's a fairly tight formation. So the groundwater flow, the gradient away from the landfill is quite slow. And we've actually got wells that show that we haven't had breakthrough.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions?
One more, Your Honor.
Go.
What would the long-term monitoring costs of this be? And I know you're going to do an estimate of what the system would involve, but basically, as I understand it, you would just be doing some water testing to see that those chemicals are reducing? And
Your Honor.
so it's not a bunch of intensive, long-term work after that?
Yeah, Your Honor, it'll be very similar to right now we're monitoring on an annual basis. That's a contract we come to you every year. Do you know what that is, Kyle? I don't know off the top of my head.
Your Honor, that's under 30,000.
Under 30,000 a year that we're already spending just because it's a permitted facility and DEQ's requiring that, and they'll require that forever until we show some point in time that it's kind of remediated itself. I would suspect there's probably going to be a few more monitoring points. So it wouldn't double. It would be kind of an incremental increase over that, but it would be real similar to just the groundwater sampling on a semi-annual basis or maybe a quarterly basis to begin with, just to see the response.
Thanks, Steve. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming tonight. No further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Item 11, development agreement with Bob Foster. Community Directors report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Foster Investments, LLC, Mr. Bob Foster, is proposing to develop Lot 4, Block 1 of the Silver Century Edition that can easily be described as the southwest corner of North 8th West and Sunset Boulevard. The proposed development includes construction of a 3,000 square foot single-story dental clinic. Upon submittal of the site plan and in accordance with Title 15 of the Riverton Municipal Code, staff notified Mr. Foster that installation of curb and gutter would be required in order to obtain a building permit. In accordance with Section 15.20.050B of the Riverton Municipal Code, Mr. Foster formally appealed the above-mentioned requirements to the Planning Commission at their May 30th meeting. The Planning Commission granted a deferment of the construction of curb and gutter along the frontage of Lot 4 until such time that Lots 1, 2, or 3 individually are developed or sold. These lots are also currently owned by Mr. Foster. The Planning Commission stipulations are memorialized in the proposed development agreement that's attached to your packet. The specific code section that staff based its original determination upon is Section 15.20.050, and in a nutshell, it basically says, no building permit shall be issued unless the applicant agrees to install curbs and gutters along adjacent streets not having curbs and gutters. And then Section B of that same section is the section that grants the ability to appeal that decision. In Mr. Foster's appeal, he also mentions two recent developments which were constructed without curb and gutter or sidewalks, specifically the Fremont County Justice Center at 1160 Major Avenue and the Moss Dental Clinic at 1900 West Sunset Drive. At this time, it is unclear why these developments were not required to comply with the Riverton Municipal Code at the time of construction. It is also unclear why the school district was not required to construct curb and gutter and sidewalks when the high school and junior high school were constructed in 1980 and 2002, respectively. After many discussions with Rick Sollers, the city attorney, there appears to be four alternatives for modification or discussion around the proposed development agreement. One would be to modify the presented development agreement to require installation of curb and gutter at this time. The second option would be approve the development agreement as presented from the Planning Commission. Third option, modify the development agreement as presented to some other form. Or 4, request modification of Title 15 of the Riverton Municipal Code from staff, which would require an ordinance to go before the Planning Commission, and then 3 readings by City Council. I believe Mr. Foster is in attendance this evening to answer any questions you might have, and with that, I'd stand for any questions as well.
The chair would entertain a motion to approve the proposal of the development agreement with Foster Investment LLC for Lot 4, Block 1, the Silver Century Edition to form.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Bailey and a second by Councilman Hancock. Further discussion?
Gunner?
Yes.
Just, I guess, as a picky thing that would make things more clear, it looks like in paragraph 13, we make reference to paragraph 3. There isn't a paragraph 3. It looks like it's meaning to make reference to paragraph 2E. I think 2E is maybe meant to be 3. Is that correct?
Let me get there.
2E says requires installation curb and gutter.
Yes.
Okay, so 2E is really what we're talking about with paragraph 3. That should be 3.
Correct.
Okay. And then I guess just the other paragraphs, we've got 4, and then we decide to skip to 7, 9, decide to skip to 11. It might be fun to do that sometimes, but it just might be a good idea with the final agreement to number it, right?
Your Honor, yes. Thank you for that clarification. Most of this is boilerplate type language, so some sections did not apply that were deleted.
Councilman Bailey.
I guess after being contacted by Mr. Foster and having listened to quite a bit about this, I went up in that area, and basically everything west of Sunset and 8th Street doesn't have any curb and gutter and sidewalk. The middle school did put some on Major as it goes south. But other than that, you get all the way up to the College View and Sunset before you get into curb and gutter. And I guess to me, the area around there, to me, the reason for curb and gutter is to channel the water to the nearest storm drain or to a place where that stormwater can run into a drainage. And I guess, most of Sunset is fairly high and drains off into pastures and or grassy areas. And there's fairly good drainage there and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know what a curb is going to accomplish there. Now, if in the future we went through and rebuilt Sunset and put in storm sewer and, all of that, I think maybe that would be appropriate. But, again, and if you look at Mr. Foster's lot and you're walking west, the south side of Sunset drops, after you pass his property, it drops off probably 8 or 10 feet. So, that curb is going to channel water either off that 8-foot drop into the drainage ditch that's right there, or down toward 8th Street and Sunset. So, again, I think, especially at this time when there's not a whole lot around him that has curb and gutter, I think it's sort of a waste of resources, and odds are, hopefully here in the near future, we're going to rebuild Sunset, and then we can decide what we're going to do, and that would be appropriate to me, to make him put this curb and gutter in just because he sells lot number 3 that's right beside it. Again, the same argument could be said about number 3 if that's the only one that develops. So I think, to me, it would be more appropriate to put that off until the curb and gutter is put in on the rest of the street, or the drainage is needed, or something like that. Because, I don't think we need to just put curb and gutter in just for the fun of it. So we have, one section of curb and gutter in about a half a mile of road, so. So that's my opinion.
Your Honor.
Kyle?
I've put in probably a lot of curb and gutter. And Mike is absolutely right. The real problem is when we go to develop lots 3 and 2 and 1, we have track equipment going over the current curb that was put in at somebody's expense, and we get to bust it up. There's no way to get in there. He can, Mr. Foster has a money tree growing in his backyard. He can put that all in. And then after 3 and 2 and 1 are sold, then the developer of those properties goes in and busts up all of that. And then they replace it again. And you say, well, how can you be so sure? Because I've watched it on 50 lots that I've done. And sidewalk, curb and gutter has a useful spot, but in that area, it is a total waste. And I don't know how much that's going to cost, but he's going to have to sell those. And as far as I know, this property's been around for more than 2 days, and he won't be able to, he won't get his money back for a long time. And that's just putting a big roadblock. So don't come to Riverton because we'll scalp you.
Any other discussion?
Mayor, after this issue had been brought to my attention, I decided that's where we would do our kick and trash that next week. And the other issue that I would see happening is if you put that sidewalk running east to west, eventually you're going to go so far west that if there was any kind of improvements done to that road, we'd essentially have to build it around that sidewalk or redo the whole sidewalk because it drops off pretty steep right there on that north end. So I think we would just be redoing the work that's already going to be getting done if we were to force it right now.
Thank you.
Honor.
Jim?
I don't think, I think from my perspective, I don't think it makes sense to tell the developer to put.
It's just my mother calling. Go ahead.
To put a curb and gutter or a sidewalk that's just in isolation there. I think that'd make no sense. I'd feel really silly. And my wife and I actually, I've been putting on weight, so we've been walking more. Yeah, it's not a good.
That happens.
Yeah, in the summertime no less, which is usually when I lose weight. So we've been walking more, and we walked over there, and it's actually interesting. You have sidewalk all up along North 8th West until you get to Sunset, and then you have a little bit of sidewalk, which goes to, I don't know, maybe about half of Lot 4 there, or I'm sorry, that's Lot 1 from east to west. So on the corner there, maybe about half of Lot 1, you've got sidewalk there, and then you stop, and then you go where there's no sidewalk there for quite a ways until you get to Major. So if we were to say, we're going to make him put in curb and gutter right here, it'd be really, really weird. It'd look weird. But at the same time, I do think, if we have, and this is something that was talked about early on, if you have a hospital that ends up getting built there, right near Sunset and Major, if you have other development in that area, in the other lots, it might start looking like you need to have curb and gutter. So I think delaying it just until Sunset, if it does get redeveloped or changed or whatever might change there, that might be something that we'll look back on years from now and say, well, wait a minute, why didn't we say if there were changes to the lots around it too, then you might need to do it. Because then it starts looking really silly if the hospital, we made them put in curb and gutter if they were there, right, and sidewalk. And then so they've got curb and gutter and sidewalk, but then you walk and then none, and then curb and gutter and sidewalk down the road. So I think just saying if eventually down the road, and it could be 20 years from now, if work gets done on Sunset, then you have to do it. That wouldn't make sense if there's other development there. And I'm not saying for sure that the hospital is going to be there. That was an early thought, something that dealt with Reach being willing to, I think, give them the property. But I do think that something besides just if and when, if Sunset ever gets done, that's just so out there, and I think we'd want to have it just a little bit more tight than that. And maybe even saying if lots 1, 2, and 3 get developed, that might not even be the best idea. But in either event, I think saying that I would have to come off the sidewalk here and then just walk until I get to maybe something else here on the corner of Sunset and Major, and up until eternity, we don't have to have a curb and gutter or sidewalk there. It just seems like it wouldn't be a good idea, and it'd look weird. And I'll be honest, I've walked around a lot in Ward 3 lately, and our sidewalks are weird. We have some places where we've got sidewalks, some places where we don't. You walk up along College View. We were walking there the other day, and we had this older woman there who was walking, and she's got to walk practically in the street to walk on College View. Now, we can't solve that right now. We can't, as a city council, say, okay, every landowner on College View, you better put in a sidewalk. That just doesn't seem right. That wouldn't be right. But at the same time, I do think we can do things to make it easier for people to walk in our town, and make it so that there's something a little bit more uniform. And I think just saying if and when someday Sunset has work done on it, then you have to do it, I just don't think that's the right move. So that's just my thought on it, based on walking there, which I think Councilman Rhoda also is his opinion based on that too.
Thank you. Anybody else have any opinion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
my thought is, I think we should be doing everything we can to encourage new business, new growth, new economic development. And I think this puts an undue hardship on the builder to require him to do this, thinking, well, like Kyle said, we may be driving equipment over it and bust it all up, and then what really have we done? So I kind of tend to err on the side of let's wait on this curb and gutter and address it in the future.
Thank you. Mike?
So, Your Honor, hearing that, I would amend the motion to have the future curb and gutter put in at the time that Sunset was further developed, and also to where it was, Sunset was developed entirely with curb and gutter in that area.
Second.
Clear enough?
Yep. We have amendment on the table that we would postpone the requirement for curb and gutter on lots 1 through 4 in the Silver Century edition until 1 cent money was able to be used in the future to build curb and gutter. Are you still okay with the fact that the current property owners would be responsible for sidewalks?
Well, I think that the property owner would be responsible at that time, I guess, if the other property owners were also.
Okay.
I don't know if we want to get it out in the weeds that far.
Yeah.
I think,
So let's vote on this amendment the way he stated it, which would be that Sunset would be reconstructed. The requirement to put in curb and gutter would be restricted to the time that Sunset was reconstructed, and that all in favor of that amendment. We have a motion by Councilman Bailey and a second by Councilwoman Borders. All in favor, say aye.
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 Mayor, could I just ask a question? It's clear as mud over here. So we're just going to go ahead and say, don't worry about the sidewalk, curb, and gutter until Sunset is repaired. But we're not going to declare who is going to foot the bill until that time. Is that my understanding? Who's the responsibility going to fall on for that sidewalk, curb, and gutter? if and when Sunset gets
This is just an addendum to the original motion, but maybe I need to add to, I do have an expert in the room. I don't know, I didn't ask him to speak about rural development. Kyle Lato, are you willing to put your opinion on?
Your Honor, just as a point of order, I think we still have to vote on the motion before we can move on.
Okay, let's vote. Tony?
It's okay. You're fine where you are.
Now,
Aye.
you're not clear enough, so let me give you some more additional information so you feel which way you can vote. The motion would make the reconstruction of Sunset would come under like one set money. And so the curbs and gutters would be put in all the way down
Sunset.
Sunset.
Correct.
Clear to College View and connect. So that's what we're postponing the construction to.
Okay.
Is that clear enough? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
So we have two.
Yeah. I want somebody name who is responsible. That 1 cent money cannot be used for something like that.
Okay.
The voters, we're using that money for new construction and repair of old roads and sidewalks and all kinds of stuff. If we were to sell 2, 3, and 1, and all of those property owners are responsible for that portion. Those property owners on the other side, UPS, and those other people are responsible for sidewalks and that part of the road. They just are. But for him to put in that building and say, well, you're responsible for a curb and gutter to nowhere, is not very smart. But if those 3 lots were sold and you and Mike and I put in buildings, then we would be responsible, just like he is responsible for putting in that part of the road. And to say, we're going to put it out there 15 years from now, and we're going to realign that, and we'll use the 1 cent money, we're assuming a lot. Will the 1 cent money be available in 15 years or 10 years or 5 years? Will it be there? Yeah, we need to do those things, but those property owners are responsible.
Just a point of order, we did vote and it did pass
Oh, yeah.
5 to 2. I got those numbers wrong, so it's 5 to 2. So we're back to that original motion. Councilman
Your
Bailey.
Honor, just a point of clarification, okay, we're only talking about curb and gutter right now,
Right.
okay? And when we do the Forest Committee 1 cent projects, in the past, we have covered paving, curb and gutter, and then if there is sidewalks that need to be done, the landowners have paid their share of the sidewalk portion. So I think that still would be in effect, and I don't think I want my motion tied to specifically 1 cent or specifically when, but I think if Sunset would be developed, reconstructed, let's say, from 8th Street to Major, and they put curb and gutter along the whole thing, then at that time, they could make that decision. I don't think we want to tie their hands either direction in the future. Again, I think it just needs to be done fairly so that if all the landowners are paying for curb and gutter, then this one would pay just like everybody else. If they all aren't, then they wouldn't. And if they had to pay for sidewalk, you'd have to pay for sidewalk just like everybody else. So we need to keep things as uniform as possible. So.
Let me put my 2 cents in, and I think I can help some clarification. The 1 cent money is designed to repair roads in Riverton. And so all it would have to do is work its way to the top of the list. That is is how the roads are being reconstructed in Riverton. And so when does it work its way to the top of the list? That's anyone's guess. The next thing that we need to pay attention to is that our new master plan that we will address concerns this intersection. And it's probably something that will get amended out, but right now it has a roundabout put on it. So a roundabout at Sunset and 8th Street would totally reconstruct sidewalk, curb, and gutter on all four corners of that intersection. And here we required somebody to come along and the engineer's estimates, I've been heavily involved with this, the engineer estimates on the curb and gutter and improvements, storm sewer, is around $55,000 to $70,000 of money that would be replaced and taken out if that roundabout was put into place. Another thing to consider is there's a 70-foot swing in Sunset. There is no dirt to the south side of Sunset from this subdivision, which I would like to also point out was originally platted in 1965. Nothing's been built there for that many years. Now, I can look at Ernie and a few of us. Back in 65, that was a big hole. And it took a long time to get any dirt put in, and there was a sign there that said, please dump all the dirt you can find right here. The new sign says anybody that dumps dirt will be prosecuted. Okay? So it's taken, from 65 to 19, a number of years to develop and to raise the soils to where somebody's interested to build on that. Councilwoman Borders is absolutely correct. We're trying to build economic growth in Riverton. 2 years ago, this council allowed another dental office just up the street to put in exactly what Mr. Foster is asking to do. I would like Kyle Leto to address us if at all. Are we out of order with that? So I don't really need him to. I can paraphrase his testimony. I was in the meeting. There's such a thing as a rural development, and we have that in Riverton, and we need to have more of it because we have a lot of subdivisions that lay outside the proper city limits of Riverton. And so I would suggest to us that we ask staff to put together a possibility of adopting under 3 readings a municipal code that would address areas just like River Lane that we did 4 years ago. It's a nice long road that we put in, and it was put in by homeowners. 51% of that subdivision had to vote yes for that, and then the homeowners paid for it. But that subdivision has no curb, no gutter, and no sidewalk. It's designed with heavy borrow ditches to take care of any runoff. And that is a development that is happening all over the place. Mr. Leto pointed out in the Planning Commission that there is such a thing as rural subdivisions. They aren't adjacent to cities at all the time. And all of Sunset, 80% of Sunset from 8th Street to College View is fully developed and has none of those amenities. Now, the reason there's a 70-foot easement on that road is because that road could swing to the north by 10 feet when it's reconstructed, and we would already have the dirt for a sidewalk clear to the hospital. We wouldn't have to haul that in. And hauling dirt in is a very expensive process. So I think we've run this up and down the pole. We've tried to make it as accessible as we can. We're not trying to build a loophole in anything. We all understand the importance of sidewalks and the development of community, but we have a lot of neighboring developments that would be greatly improved by just plain asphalt roads. And so I think I've covered most of those points. Is there any other discussion?
Your Honor.
Tim?
So here's my concern. And I already said it a little bit. If that gets developed more over there, if there gets to be a hospital, and this has been in Riverton, this has been an area that has had a lot of development there. We've got the Justice Center there. We've got Moss Dentistry there. We've got the proposal for this dentist office to be there. I think trying to say, let's just have this be preserved how it is, down the road, is doing us a disservice. I think if we're not addressing sidewalks, we're saying we're going to get in a situation like we are now with stuff like College View, where there's never going to be a sidewalk there, despite the fact that it is frequently walked. That is an area where people get up to the college, they get up to the high school, they get up to the hospital, and they walk that area, and there's no sidewalk. And it's not there because there was never anything that ever addressed it and said it had to be put in. So if we say with this, you never have to put in sidewalk is never going to be put in there, because I can tell you, we're not going to go down the road and just talk to the landowner and they're going to say, out of the goodness of my heart, I'm going to put sidewalk there. It's just not going to happen. So I guess the first thing that I have an issue with it is it does not address sidewalk at all, despite the fact that if there is more construction down there, we're going to wish we had it. The other thing that I have a problem with the motion, Councilman Bailey very specifically worded his motion. Your Honor, when you repeated it, you added the fact that it would be 1% monies. And then he had clarified, no, we're not saying this is going to be 1% money. The email that we had from Mr. Sollers, our legal counsel, about what we could be doing down the road doesn't say, let's have 1% money pay for this. Have the taxpayers pay for a development. It says defer until there is work on Sunset and then have the landowner pay for it. That's what his proposal is, not just to have it be vaguely out there, somebody's going to pay for it. Well, if it's going to be somebody's going to pay for it, I'll tell you who it's going to be. It's going to be us. And we might not have 1% funds then. And if we don't, we're going to be kicking ourselves for this. So if we're going to be doing this, I would say that we have to make it clear in the development agreement, number one, that if Sunset is developed later on, that the landowner would have to be paying for the curbs and gutters, not the city. Because otherwise, we are using taxpayer funds for an individual who's developing. And I don't think we should be doing that. And then number two, I think it should address sidewalks. It might be a little bit too late, because that was something the community development director already had said as a negotiation. Okay, rather than putting in sidewalks, how about you put in curbs and gutters? So I don't know if it's too late to require that, but I would think if there's further development there, we'd want to have sidewalks. But I just think my concern is, if we're talking about fairness, what about every other developer in the city of Riverton who has had to put in curbs and gutters and sidewalks? I mean, go to the Sertoma area. That's still within this rural area. They have curbs and gutters and sidewalks. It's a very nice place to walk. Now, I understand some of the difficulties with Sunset, but my concern is if there's further development there, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. And I think if we're sitting there saying, let's have the 1% funds pay for something for this, I don't think that's right. I really do not think that is right.
Councilman Hancock, we just spent $290,000 replacing curb and gutter on College View with 1 cent money.
Replacing, not
Replacing.
installing. Replacing.
Well, that's what we would do. We are replacing a road someday, and that's how we replace roads in Riverton. And so that's a misstatement of what the intent is. Councilman Bailey.
Okay. And this has been a dilemma for a very, very long time, because in my years in the Planning Commission, we've had this same discussion over and over and over. And the question becomes, who gets to be the first, right? So but the trick is, I don't know where you start. And we've had the same discussion down on Gannett. We're going to end up redoing Gannett because of all the problems they've got down there. And guess what? There's no sidewalk there. And the option to put sidewalk, if I remember correctly, was $250,000. And, so where do you start?
Well, how about with the person that actually has sidewalk on their property? Because he does. He has it come all the way along there until you turn.
Yeah, but
And then all of a sudden, we drop off from the sidewalk. I get what you're saying, and it seems unfair.
it is.
But at the same time, it's unfair to every other developer that we're saying you have to put in sidewalk and curbs and gutters to say you don't have to put in any, and oh, by the way, we'll pay for it down the road.
I'm not saying we're going to pay for it down the road. I'm saying we shouldn't do it until there's other curb and gutter put in additionally in that section of Sunset.
Well, then we need some different language then, because the way the mayor read what you said was that we would do it with 1% funds.
I did not say 1% fund.
So
So
restate,
an amendment that,
why don't we just restate your amendment and make sure that that I don't add anything to it? How's that?
my amendment would say that Mr. Foster in his development does not have to put curb and gutter in until the time that Sunset between 8th Street and Major is further developed and curb and gutter is put in along that entire section. Would that be fair?
All in favor of that? Do we still, does your second still stand?
My second stands.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Your Honor.
3, 4, 5. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
So we still have 5-2. We're back to the original motion. I believe the amendment covers the problem that we're having. The Councilman Bailey made the original motion. Second was by Councilman Hancock. All in favor, say aye.
Tony has a comment.
Tony?
Your Honor, just for clarification, your motion is amending what is section 2E of the MOU, which currently states it changes the delay time towards the end of the statement. Just for clarification, that is what we are doing.
We're just
Thank you very much.
changing that date.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. All in favor, say aye.
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 So 5. Any opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Hey,
Motion passes. We're on item 12, the approval of North Federal dewatering costs. Public Works Director's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. The item before you relates to the stormwater improvement project that's going on in conjunction with North Federal being reconstructed. This is a partnership that we have with WYDOT and the City of Riverton. As you may recall, we have an agreement with WYDOT that costs related to stormwater infrastructure for the reconstruction of North Federal Boulevard is split at an 85-15 ratio, 85% being with the City of Riverton, 15 being with the State of Wyoming. This was established based on the amount of water that flows from each entity into the WYDOT system. To clarify, there's of the water that goes through the North Federal infrastructure for stormwater, 15% of it is generated by WYDOT's impervious surface area. 85% is from the City of Riverton's impervious area. So we inject quite a bit of water that goes into the stormwater system on North Federal. Several months ago, during the reconstruction of Webwood Road, we came across an issue where the requirement to dewater the existing infrastructure was greater than anticipated. There was year-round nuisance flows in the existing stormwater infrastructure and adjoining drain ditches. This was something that was not anticipated or put in the bid of the contractor. The contractor moved forward. They got the job done, installed the infrastructure per the plans. However, they requested compensation for the extra cost to dewater the nuisance flows that were unanticipated. WYDOT and the City of Riverton have met for over 6 months on this question and have worked to fairly address this compensation question with the contractor for the unanticipated dewatering impact at the intersection of Webwood and Federal. In order for the contractor to receive compensation, as they've requested, they needed to go through a dispute process as outlined in the project documents that WYDOT has. WYDOT, I can say, has worked very hard on this, and I do want to take a moment and recognize Robert Scheidemantel. I speak very highly of Robert, and he's worked very hard on this project, and I know he's put on a lot of extra hours ensuring that WYDOT is fair to the contractor and that this issue is appropriately addressed. The cost breakdown that relates to this dewatering is in your packet. This was tracked on a daily basis and reconciled on a daily basis. The total dewatering costs associated with the nuisance flows that were unanticipated is $120,111.58. This total is subtracted from by costs that have already been paid by the City of Riverton and WYDOT and for what has already been included in the original bid by the contractor. In addition to this dewatering cost that I just mentioned, there were delay days that were agreed upon as part of this. These delay days were caused by several factors, so some of them by the City of Riverton infrastructure. To be a little flippant, I can't wait until someone invents glasses that can see underground. Until that day, we'll have a hard time knowing exactly where our infrastructure sits. So as the contractor was doing their due diligence and working and replacing water lines and sewer lines related to the City of Riverton, we came across some unanticipated variances from the design. The contractor worked with the City of Riverton and WYDOT to appropriately address these. However, the delay caused by these unforeseen water and sewer issues added to the dewatering time. So that's why you see an extra cost of $50,577.50. This is related to delay days for things that were not included in the plans that the City of Riverton put together for our water and sewer. And then on top of that is a 5% markup that helps cover the general contractor's time for supervision, traffic control, and any other overhead costs related to this specific issue. The total dewatering cost that has been established as WYDOT and the contractor have worked through the claim dispute process is $154,814.27. Because this delay and this work is tied to the stormwater portion of the North Federal project, this cost is shared at that 85-15 ratio, meaning the City of Riverton has a responsibility of $131,592.13 for this dewatering cost. In working with WYDOT and the contractor, we feel that the delay days were fair and appropriate to what was going on the project. And because the nuisance flows were not included in the bid and did cause additional costs to the contractor, the claim process has shown that the contractor does deserve that added compensation. In order for the City of Riverton to cover the added cost of the $131,000 and change, we do sit in a pretty good situation in that we've had some line items specifically related to the stormwater project that have underrun. We're able to cover this added cost by the underrunning line items that we've seen in the project. So we have an ability to cover this added cost with the original budget that we established and have been tracking through this project. And before closing, I again want to thank city staff and WYDOT staff for working through this, and honestly the contractor as well. I think they have tried to be fair and continue to build a project during a 6-month dispute process. That's a long time to try and come to a resolution, and I appreciate the fact that they were professional and did a wonderful job working and building what needed to be built. With that, Your Honor, we are asking that the City Council accept the cost increase and that the City of Riverton will cover its 85% share of that claim. Thank you.
The chair would entertain a motion to accept the cost increase related to the stormwater improvement from North Federal Boulevard reconstruction project in the amount of, my script, I thought you made magic. My script says $54,000. I was really happy when I read it. $154,814.27.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilman Hancock and a second from Councilwoman Schatze. Further discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
Does that include those glasses?
I wish. That'd be nice.
Any other discussion? We did, Tony and I and Kyle met with the project manager on cost, Randy, Robert, and we really do appreciate your efforts, and the project is really going well. It was nice to switch over to the east side of the north end of the project and feel how smooth the road is. And so we do appreciate your efforts. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Fiscal year 2019 and 2020 council goals. City Administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm happy to give Kyle a break. Council is considering Resolution 1396, which is the adoption of the fiscal year 2020 council goals as presented to you today in the second sheet within your packet. Council met to develop with the council goals for the city of Riverton on 7/9 at the last work session here at City Hall. During that time period, staff provided some recommendations, and council discussed through all of the goals that you have before you. The purpose of our goals is a guiding document for staff to work with. We believe that at this point, looking at the goals that you have provided us and provided each other, that these represent a very good path forward for the city and as guiding items. The reason that I say these are guiding items, and we've had a lot of these conversations as of late, especially with the master plan, these are not passed by ordinance. They're passed by a resolution. And as such, they can be changed. I would encourage council throughout the year as we evaluate these. We have developed a tracking spreadsheet that you'll be presented with quarterly. If we see that things are done and things need to be added and that things arise, then those things need to be considered and added to these goals. If things no longer we're no longer capable of doing certain things, those need to be amended. You have six main goal categories with sub-goals under each of those, and we will report on all of those on an ongoing basis. At this point, staff recommends approval of the resolution. We thank you for your time in developing these so that we can use them moving forward, and I would be happy to answer any questions following the motion.
Would the city clerk please read resolution number 1396 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed resolution number 1396, a resolution of the governing body of the City of Riverton establishing goals and objectives for fiscal year 2019-2020 to promote the long-term welfare and success of the City of Riverton.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 1396.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Rhoda and a second by Councilwoman Borders. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion passes. The memorandum of understanding, the MOU, to participate in the capture purchase program, in the capacity purchase program, Public Works Director's report.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm happy to report that progress is being made on the capacity purchase program. Many of you remember that Senate, I was going to say Senate file, but really it's an enrolled Act 40, established a council across the entire state of Wyoming to assess commercial air service needs. From that council, it was determined that the capacity purchase program would best serve communities like our own, communities that had critical air service needs. Those communities are Riverton, Sheridan, Gillette, and Rock Springs. For communities that are considered in WYDOT Aeronautics Vantage Point as growth markets, this council determined that the Air Service Enhancement Program best served their needs. Just as a point of clarification, we are currently being benefited by the Air Service Enhancement Program, and the Capacity Purchase Program represents a shift in how the state of Wyoming will participate with the City of Riverton and Fremont County and all of its partners to secure and maintain commercial air service. Through the process of analyzing the best way to get service through the capacity purchase program, the state of Wyoming put together a bid package and solicited proposals from interested air carriers. Two submitted, Denver Air Connection and SkyWest. Aeronautics put together a selection committee. They ranked individually the proposals of Denver Air Connection and SkyWest. And then they interviewed each company as well. From that process, it was determined that SkyWest Airlines best fit the needs to fulfill the capacity purchase program that was proposed to serve critical air service communities like ourselves. The state of Wyoming entered into contract on June 24, 2019 with SkyWest Airlines to fulfill the capacity purchase program. What does that mean to us? Really nothing at this time. Even though the state of Wyoming has a contract with SkyWest, we do not have any type of tie to that relationship yet. The manner by which we will have an opportunity to participate in the capacity purchase program is through a memorandum of understanding. Tonight, we're asking that the City Council empower the Fremont Air Service team to continue its negotiation of the Memorandum of Understanding between the State of Wyoming and the City of Riverton to enter into the capacity purchase program wherein SkyWest would provide the commercial air service. FAST has received a copy of the contract between the State of Wyoming and SkyWest Airlines and has reviewed it. It has also begun its work on draft MOU terms. It spent about an hour on the phone with White Aeronautics on Friday. So we kind of got the cart ahead of the horse before your approval, but we thought, what the heck, let's get working. Our plan is to finalize the terms of the MOU as a FAST team and then come back to you with a final version of that MOU for your approval at the first meeting in August, which is August 6th. So at this time, staff is requesting that the City Council empower the Fremont Air Service team to finalize the terms of the Memorandum of Understanding that will enable the City of Riverton and its Fremont County partners to enter into that capacity purchase program and receive air service from SkyWest. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to authorize FAST to finalize terms of a Memorandum of Understanding between the State of Wyoming and the City of Riverton regarding the capacity purchase program.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Bailey and second by Councilwoman Borders. Further discussion. I would like to commend FAST's efforts on this. It's a lot of work, a lot of information. We have two members of FAST with us tonight. Ernie Over and Kyle sit on that board. Very much work has been done. We are lucky to have FAST. If we didn't have FAST, I don't think we would have air service in Fremont County. And so I welcome their ability to negotiate and to come up with the best of agreement as we can get. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. The SITTA LLC cost-sharing agreement, Public Works Director, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. This agreement ties back to that North Federal Stormwater Project. The North Federal Stormwater Project is really part of a complete stormwater design and plan for the northeast area of the City of Riverton. This is the first phase, what we're building with North Federal. The second phase is the construction of a regional stormwater detention facility. The current plan for that facility is to run across the eastern edge of the Eastern Shoshone Business Park. This water will include drainage waters generated by the City of Riverton, the State of Wyoming. It'll handle nuisance flows, and then it will also accommodate the flows generated by the new development, Eastern Shoshone Business Park. So as properties develop, as parking lots grow or are built, they don't really grow. It could, just kidding. But as they're built, it lessens the ability for stormwater to infiltrate in the ground, and that stormwater needs to go somewhere. It needs to be controlled and released at a rate that does not flood anybody downstream. So this stormwater detention facility really accomplishes those goals. Back in January, the City Council approved an agreement between the city and WYDOT to do a cost share for the stormwater detention. WYDOT will share the cost of that 85-15 ratio that we talked about earlier tonight. This agreement is between SITTA and the City of Riverton, and it's really broken out by how each entity impacts the design need of that stormwater detention facility. Inberg Miller was hired. They did a great job and did an analysis of the site and of the regional flows, and it was determined that 75% of the water that would be going through this stormwater detention facility would be related to WYDOT and the City of Riverton. 25% is related to this development across the Eastern Shoshone Business Park. The agreement before you details a few of the terms, but essentially it states that SITTA and the city will share costs of construction at 85-25. It will also share costs of the design at 85. Let's do 75-25.
Better for us.
This is why I have to sit by the city administrator.
Doesn't insult math people.
To be fair, we've had a lot of numbers.
Is it workman's comp when you get kicked under the table?
If it causes an injury.
Your Honor, I apologize for being so flippant, but I'm glad I'm not committing you to 10% more of this project. Let's go back to 75-25. So it will share at a 75-25 ratio for construction, for design, for project management, and for future operation, meaning once it's built, each entity will maintain that facility into the future. The City of Riverton has already included this project in the budget that has been adopted, and we look forward to partnering with SITTA and continuing this great development. With that, we recommend that we enter into this agreement, 75-25.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the cost allocation agreement between the City of Riverton and SITTA LLC.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Larson and a second by Councilman Bailey. Any further discussion? I drove by there today, and it looks like the Riverton Municipal Swimming Pool. It'd be nice to get this underway and get that water flowing downstream so we don't have to take care of the mosquitoes off of it. So we appreciate your efforts on all sides. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes.
Your Honor.
Yes.
That project, the City of Riverton in 1995 tried to do something like that. They had several bad storms, and that ditch flooded out all of Smith and the people down below that. And they worked hard, and then for 10, 15 years we've had dry weather, and so that hasn't been a problem. This will now take that water, which is right now quite abundant, and put it down Prison Farm Road and into the river, and that will alleviate so much problems on Smith Road and the flooding going down Webbwood that it's a real neat project. It'll benefit a bunch of people. Thank you.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate that. We're down to committee reports. Rebecca.
Yes, Your Honor. Before we came to council tonight, we had a pause board meeting. They are working hard on their Paws and Pearls event, which is going to be September 7th. They are also looking for more new board members. They've had a couple people resign, just been there for a while, and they're getting tired. So they're looking for new board members. So if you wish to be a member of that board, please visit the Paws location down there on Smith Road, I believe it is. So just go in there and tell them you're interested and do that. One interesting thing that I've noticed with all the committees that I'm liaison for, PAWS, Chamber, and the Community Engagement Committee, that I did not see when I first got on these committees is their willingness to partner with each other. Every single one of the committees that I'm on mentioned in their meetings how they're wanting to partner with each other. And that, I think that says a lot about what we've done as a council to build those relationships within the community, because in every single meeting, I've heard them say, tonight she said, I've talked with Ashley Strickland at the Chamber, we're going to meet with her. And even committees that I'm not part of, our rec, talk about partnering with PAWS to get the word out about them. And it's just an amazing thing. I just want to say that. Chamber Alive at 5, as you heard during the meeting, they're having their next Alive at 5 event on July 31st in conjunction with the farmers market to bring more people into the city park. I want to say how great Ashley is doing, the new chamber director. If you need anything, you talk to her and she gets back to you within 24 hours. It's amazing. She's making things happen. The Community Engagement Committee held a meeting last night with all the community groups. I'm going to let Corey talk about it because he actually took notes and so he has some more detailed information. But there was a lot of people there and a lot of great things happening. Kick and Trash is still going strong. We're doing them every Sunday and Wednesday. Tomorrow we will be meeting at the Java there on Main Street and working our way down Main Street. I've been running that route every morning, and there's just a lot of trash next to Tonkin Stadium and in the gutters and that type of stuff. So we'll just do a quick one because there's a lot of cool things happening tomorrow night in the city park and the library. So I'm sure people want to go visit those things. It'll be quick. And then Rendezvous Games is happening still on August 17th. As of right now, we don't have any teams registered. So I have people saying they're going to, but none yet. I know that we're last minute, but I don't like last minute. So get registered. You can register at the City of Riverton or at our rec. If you need more information, please let me know. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thanks. It was mentioned last time that the city council could put a team together. Is anybody interested in being on the team?
Absolutely.
As long as
We need 6.
as long as I'm in the eating event and it's something good to eat.
Yeah, we've made our final decision on what it's going to be.
You're not going to tell us?
No.
So Rebecca's opted to be out because she is the grand chairman almost all the time, and we appreciate her to do that. So I would participate.
I'm the host, Mayor. I am out,
You're out?
unfortunately.
Kyle, you want in?
Kristen?
No.
Come on,
Tony?
Kyle.
Kyle?
Well, if it was eating.
Mia?
Well, that's the thing.
There is.
We'll handle the eating events.
Yeah.
Any staff that would like to participate, I will pay the commitment fee. So Tony would,
I'll
Kyle,
participate.
would you?
I'm there.
I'm sure Chief's got his own team.
I'm bringing a ringer, sir.
All right. We like the chief on the team. It sounds like we have more than our 6.
Can we have donut eating?
That's not till winter. Do a winter. The winter games you can do donate eating.
Can we have more than 6 or 6 is the
Up
limit?
to 6.
Okay, we will.
And I believe Chief Murphy will be sitting on the dunk tank.
So
Chief Murphy has guys to sit on the dunk.
Is it going to be Lamar Dixon? Because I think a lot of people
That is a great idea.
get the guy that's been doing all the traffic citations.
Yeah, the 66 citations, that'd be.
I'll get you the registration fee if you want to get us registered. Sounds like we're in.
Yep, will do.
Thank you. Kyle, do you have anything to report?
Went over to the sanitation meeting held in Lander, and they adopted their budget. Their budget is $5,500,000, and they figure they're going to make about $6 million, so they're going to be okay there. They're looking at buying some equipment, and the big problem I had was asking them why the closure dates of the different facilities varied, and the answer was free space.
Free space?
Free space. And so what that translates to is they have so much space, and some months they get more garbage and some months they don't, and so that varies. And so their 2024 date has expanded to, in January it was estimated at 2035, and now it's whittled back to 2029. And the next question was, why are you hauling garbage from Riverton to Lander and think you're saving money. And the answer was because they totally use their employment in one location versus duplicating it. And by duplicating it, that costs them more than putting it in one space. So that was refreshing to hear that somebody was really interested in saving money. But the last thing is Shoshone Landfill will be closing at the end of this year and be put into bed. And what that is that's like the perpetual monitoring of our water coming out of the baseball diamonds, only they'll be monitoring the fields over in Shoshone till Shoshone has green grass in January. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Kyle. Corey?
Mayor, the only thing I've really got to report on is the Community Engagement Committee. We did have what we're calling the CSOGs. It's the Community Service Organization Gathering. We had exactly 54 named organizations in attendance. I believe there was over 60 people in attendance. A couple things I wanted to note.
54 organizations and 52 people?
More than 60 people.
More than 60 people. Thank you.
But there was a couple in there, like Councilman Bailey, who have, I think, about 10 or so under his belt. So a couple things I wanted to point out for a couple of them. The downtowners are looking for members. The Good Samaritan Center is looking for members, as well as the Fremont County Group Home. Those were the main ones that are looking for board members. We actually had a couple organizations that just showed up looking for work. They just want to be put to work and help out with some projects. I know that the downtowners are putting together a fall festival right now. Cats are getting ready to celebrate their 5th birthday. I could go on with these notes. It was a great turnout. The main goal was to get everybody connected, let them know that we want to have a very straightforward calendar and have everybody participate in that. So at the end of the meeting, Tony was kind enough to take everybody on a walkthrough on how to put their own events and everything on the calendar. I think it was really well received. There was a lot of people who were able to make some connections and help each other out. There was a couple organizations looking for some land, and there was another gentleman there who was, I don't want to say looking to give out land, but thought that maybe he'd be able to help them. So I think it's going to be really great to see the outcome with all these organizations able to work together and really just pool their resources and help each other. So I think that was really great. I think we're going to try to do that biannually, try to have a meeting twice a year like that. So we encourage everybody to take a look at that calendar on the Riverton page, not the Facebook page, but the actual Riverton, City of Riverton page. And hopefully everybody will get their agendas put up there so you'll be able to see what organization is hosting what event, how you can get in contact with that organization as well. Again, we are doing the kick and trash. This Sunday we will be doing the City Hall parking lot, that direction. So if you want to come, we're trying to do it at about 5 o'clock. It's still pretty hot. There's not really a good time on Sunday, but that's the only day I can be there. So thanks for working around my schedule, everybody. Also, we have the rendezvous games coming up on the 17th, but the barbecue cook-off is going to be that night as well. If you want to start registering, I think only 2 people have. We have 3 now. So we have Drew Schatza, who was our second.
You.
I was going to say me last.
Oh.
I'm going to win.
Well, his wife committed him, so he might not know yet, but it's Martin Shootman.
Okay. Well, now he has to come. Now he has to. And then myself, of course. So come out, have some food. It's going to be a great event. It'll be right after the award ceremony or right before. We'll get that timeline figured out. But there's going to be an amazing barbecue cookout at City Park. We'd love to get more people participating. I see Tony's got some wheels turning over here. Maybe we'll see him get down there. And that is all I have right now, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I fancy myself as quite a barbecue expert, so I will go ahead and sign up as well.
Got you down, Chief.
Thank you. Carla?
I'm going to defer the Solutions Committee to Tim. It's hard when we both serve on the same committee. Tonight, I'm just going to try to promote the Fremont County Good Samaritan Center. They are in severe need for some new board members. So if you're interested, just get a hold of Tristine Grover at the Fremont County Good Samaritan Center. They need a new roof. They need all sorts of repairs, so they need to try to put some fundraisers together and need some board members. So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Thank you. Tim?
So we had a really good Solutions Committee meeting. We have a new chair. Tristine Grover had been the chair for about a year, decided that she had a lot going on trying to get things going on with the Fremont County Good Samaritan Center and just didn't have the time to put into it. So she stepped down, and Lance Godey is now the chair of the Solutions Committee, so that's good. We discussed a little bit about the Good Samaritan Center and their needs. They had a fundraiser, as a matter of fact, just last night. If you went and got any pizza at Pizza Hut all day, then 20% of whatever you got went to them. So I hope that was successful. But they have a lot of needs. I mean, in order to get their building back up to code, have it be a place that people can be. She had noted that they're the only emergency shelter that we have available in the county. So it does serve an important need, and right now they're having to turn people away, makes it very difficult for them right now. And so it's an immediate need for board members, an immediate need for funds. So that's, I think, important to think about. The other thing we discussed was WASCOP, whatever it is. I love WASCOP. That's just funny. But the Wyoming Association of Sheriffs and Chiefs of Police, WASCOP, is they come out with a report every year, and they detail each of the counties and kind of the percentage of arrests that are like public intox, the percentage of arrests that are alcohol-related, the percentage of arrests that are drug-related. Heck, they have it broken down by gender, all of that. And they have it in a way that you can compare the numbers to other counties. It was good news that the chief shared, but we're not number one, which is not, I mean, usually it's like we're number one. We're not number one, and that's a good thing. Even if you look at the 2017 numbers, I think we were in the top 3 for the percentage of arrests that were alcohol-related. Right. We're not in the top 3 even. I think Riverton is getting better. We've got I think there's changes that are being made that are positive changes, and at least as far as it was in 2018. This isn't 2019. These are 2018 numbers. Fremont County, Riverton, we're not number one, which is good. We don't want to be number one. So that was some good news, and I think, when you get people that are speaking negatively about Riverton and how there's so much crime or there's so much this or there's so much that, we're not even in the top 3 on any of the statistics that they had there. And so that was impressive, and I think it means that there's good changes happening in Riverton and in Fremont County. The other thing we discussed a little bit, well, I guess we didn't really discuss this that much. This is something else that I wanted to talk about. First off, if anybody is watching this or is here and wants to watch it on TV, we're on channel 191. And I know that sounds silly to say that, but when we were talking and goal setting and everything, one of the important things that I think we don't do with the city very much is we don't sit there and tell people what is going on. We don't tell people exactly what's happening. That's why I took a little break during finance to say, this is where some of our money is going. I think I kind of prided myself on the fact that we could do a 1-minute finance committee meeting. But at the same time, I think if we can get information out there where people know where money is going, I think that kind of transparency is very important, and that was addressed also in our committee goals, or council goals. The other thing that, I don't know where this would go, but it is something that I definitely think we should talk about. Kyle has been streaming our meetings frequently on his Facebook page. We also have the meetings available on TV. I would think it would make sense if we could somehow make it easier to stream meetings. I know that when Bethany Baldez was doing she had everything with the meeting yesterday that was through local ladies.
Tim, I have technology today that I figured out.
Good.
Give me 2 weeks.
Okay. But I guess the point is, you know, I think it's great to be able to stream things like that online. You only reach part of the people that are actually going to be watching meetings by having it on TV. It's a good amount of people, but at the same time, I think having it available online, but having it where you can hear it. That's one of the most frequent things I think I see on Kyle's Facebook page is, I can't hear. So it just as I guess a thought or a way that we can do that more in the future, I think that we would be really benefited by having the meetings in a way that we can have them on Facebook or have them streamed either individually or on the City of Riverton webpage.
Is that possible, Tony, to put that on the webpage so that instead of, I don't have channel 191 and I don't like Kyle's Facebook page, City of Riverton, could we have that, do we have that capability so that we could log into the City of Riverton and watch City Council?
Your Honor, we currently upload all of our videos the next day, of course, to YouTube. However, we can put that link to the YouTube page, which we already do on our website. As far as streaming it live through Facebook, yes. I believe we can. We can look into that. As far as just through our website as its own standalone stream, I'm not sure. It might be easier and more cost effective to look at a link that goes straight to the Facebook page that people can see it at that point if they wanted to see it. But I think we can find a way around to get what you're looking for.
And I spoke with Tim about it, and he basically said, with these cameras and everything, if we were going to stream it, we have to choose. We can't do both. We can't have it going to TV and going to internet. And if I'm wrong, he'll probably come out and talk to me. I don't know who it is today. It might be Adam. But you can't do both through this system. But I would say that we could figure out a way so that wherever it's being streamed, that we can get into the sound system. And I know in terms of these cameras it might not happen, but I do think if we can make it so that our meetings can be more easily tapped into the sound system, I mean, heck, I know half of the time it's just a matter of having the right little cord or whatever, that you plug into another one and you get 3 or 4 of them together and it starts to look mangled, but it's possible. It's just I think it's something that we should look into maybe. So that's all I have tonight.
Thank you. Lander does put theirs on YouTube, and they have a special system, but it doesn't work very well to their own admittance. So, you know, maybe if anybody has good information that we can get it all pushed back up into where people could get that. I think a lot of the problem is a number of us that are on satellite television don't get local channel 191. And so maybe even if we could have that explained, maybe there's a way to get around that also. But I think Tim's correct. The more information we get out, the better we serve the community, and the more the community can come and help us. Councilman Bailey.
I had the pleasure of attending the Force Committee meeting here the first part of the week, and again, we have three projects in process: Village Drive, East Bell, College View. Yes. So those are going, and it looks like with the bids coming in under engineers' estimates, we should have enough extra money. They're in the process of looking at getting South 8th Street, which is Sail Barn Road, repaved. So they're investigating that. So hopefully we can get that done this year also. Again, that's a tricky timing one with fair coming and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we can squeeze that in this year. And then, of course, planning is in process for the projects for next year. And sometime in October, we will be looking at all of the different projects that we have on the agenda and rating those as to which ones are the most important, and trying to come up with our decision for next year so that we again can get those bids out early and get on the contractors' agendas before they get busy and more expensive. So it's been working very well. We've been getting pretty good deals on these projects and getting a good bang for our buck on the Force Committee. And I think they've done some amazing work, and I see huge improvements around town. And we get lots of compliments from citizens on the improvements. And of course, everybody has a pothole that's their favorite one. So, again, don't be afraid to bring those things to the Force Committee's attention so that we can analyze those. We try to group the projects together so that they are, all in one place, and we can get a big chunk of work done all at one time, which again saves costs as opposed to just doing little spot projects around town. Again, I got to attend the committee meeting last night for the engagement committee, and it was just really, really impressive to see how many people showed up. Again, we filled this room. They had the courtroom opened up, and we had lots and lots of organizations, and I think we put the rumor to rest that there's nothing to do in Riverton, because I think just about every single day, every single evening, there are, groups that meet with just about any kind of interest that you have. You can, find something that fits your individual wishes, whether it's, paws with animals and, again, the Good Samaritan Center and all of these different places that are out there serving our community. It's 99% all volunteers, people out there trying to make their community a better place. And it's really, it really restores your faith in humankind when you see that many people out being active. And almost every one of them needed additional people, additional board members, additional help wherever they can. So again, if you're bored, just look on the new city website. Hopefully here in the near future, we'll have all kinds of stuff for you to be able to participate in. And there's tons of groups that do all kinds of great things. The airport board meeting is coming up here this Friday, and so I'm going to attend that. Again, we'll be working on improving the air service coming into Riverton. That's sort of exciting. We're turning over a new leaf with SkyWest getting that contract, and so we got improvements coming to the airport, and so I'll be using it again next week. So, and then again, I would, along our discussion without dragging us off on a path again, I think we need to, I would be willing to make a motion that we have Planning Commission look into this idea of sort of a rural, low-density type street development design that would be a reasonable way for us to, again, bring properties into the city without complete, 60-foot street, curb, gutter, sidewalk, street lights, the whole works. And I think there are a lot of areas that would fit, that we could bring groups into the city without spending huge amounts of money. They still would be, could have paved streets and have the improvements that they need. But, like it was brought to our attention earlier, River Lane down there south of the golf course. That's a very nice little area. They did a nice job. They put a street in. The drainage is taken care of. Curb and gutter and sidewalks probably not needed there. And I think there's places where that would be a reasonable thing to do, and it would lower the development costs, which would increase the amount of development we get. And I think we all are here to try to make more development, more economic activity going on in Riverton, and that helps everybody. So I think that's all I have.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Tony?
Thank you, Your Honor. As a quick comment, I'm bringing us back a little bit to the conversation about our AV system, audio visual. We do actually know how to do what you're asking. It was one of the original items that was a fatality of the budget. So we do know exactly how to do it. Our IT department had already come up with that, but it was one of the items that didn't make the overall cut. We know it was a tough year and has been a little bit. So what we'll probably, I guess with your blessing generally, is we'll try to figure out a way to do largely what you're talking about, to provide that transparency and to provide that access as best we can. If, as we've talked about, trying to secure funding for different items over the next year, we can start looking at that as one of the items. If a little later in the year we see savings, that might be one of the items that we talk about replacing if we have a surplus of funds, or sales tax really gets up there and we have some the ability to do so. So we will bring that back to you, but we will find a way to try to better provide that access to these meetings. I think that's important, and council is correct that we should prioritize it. RECDA is next Wednesday, the 24th, at the Sundowner. We will be presenting on the website. By the end of it, I might understand it completely. I'll let you know at the time. We're going to be scheduling some public demos for that. We've already been to Rotary. We're going. I'm scheduled for Kiwanis in September. They couldn't get me in sooner. Something about a calendar. But I would express our appreciation. I attended the CSOG and was able to speak, and I think that was well received. I had some great questions. I think it's going to be useful to our community, especially that calendar function for those groups. We received great coverage from WYO Today and County 10. Both of their stories provided a step-by-step at the end of how you get to the calendar. So that was very much appreciated. The more we can get that information, the more people use it. We would, if anybody is listening, as we talk about the AV 5 seconds ago, that it's important that when the public submits these items, they try to provide as much good information as you can, because that's the information that the public is going to use. So, don't put the time or assume people know the location, because a lot of the reason for this is that people who don't know now have an access to it. And a lot of the time we go to our meetings and, it's RECDA, it's at that restaurant that we always go to. Now, somebody might want to go to it and doesn't know where it is. So we want to make sure that we provide good information. Everybody's heard the conversation about garbage in, garbage out with computers. No different. So we want to provide good information. And just a reminder, I am very, very pleased to tell you that as of, I think, yesterday afternoon, we received our signed agreement with BLM to be a participating agency in the EIS. The mayor and I will attend the meeting in August 15th in Casper as the first meeting. So to say we got in just under the wire was maybe a little bit of not too much of an understatement, but we will be able to review the draft permit. We will be able to provide comments. If anybody has any questions or comments or items, contacting the mayor's primary or myself, we'll be sure to share information back and forth. But we will be attending that at the 15th in Casper. I think I mentioned the other day, but we are reviewing the draft rate study that has been completed. We have the first draft, all 153 pages of it. So I know everybody is really excited to read it, but give us just a little bit of time. Me and I are going through it. We're going to be having conversations with the consultant that has been engaged, and we're going to make sure that we have a very good understanding of it and that the assumptions are what we expect them to be. So when the analysis is provided to you, we can provide good answers, because I know those conversations are very large. And finally, one of the items that we had talked about previously, we had received a presentation on a complete count committee, and the complete count from Tammy, and her last name escapes me, but we have been corresponding with Tammy, and Tammy was is desiring to put together more of a complete count committee for the county. Well, that kind of gets to be a little bit of a challenge when you're trying to get all the right people in the room and trying to get different groups together. And then the idea came up, the mayor and I spoke, and as a member of FCAG, that is something that FCAG could possibly hear about. As such, the mayor reached out, got her on the agenda. We heard from her today, and she wants to come have that conversation. That's a really great launching point, as FCAG can bring all the right people to the table, so it's not the city of Riverton or the city of Lander saying, okay, here, jump on this idea. It's as a group they can move it out. It doesn't mean that the mayors themselves have to be the actual actors or the administrators or a council member. It means that we're going to try to find representations in the different communities and to be part of that committee. So I think we're going to be able to start moving in a direction as council had discussed before. So we're happy about that. That's next week. Mayor, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's next week. So,
Yep.
Your Honor, I do not have anything else.
Thank you. I'm going to move off script just a little bit. Eric Carr is our chairman for the Rendezvous Committee, and I'd like to give him a minute to give us the plugs for where we should be so we don't miss anything.
I am so glad somebody brought that up. 39th Annual Riverton Rendezvous Balloon Rally this weekend. So, yeah, you guys got your pins
camera is right.
and your brochures. We've got 14 balloons coming this year. So, if you have any questions, so feel free to come on Media Day. It's Friday. It starts at 6 a.m. And then Saturday, we've got the flights at 6 a.m. And then feel free to come judge the sandwich making competition at the Fire Drill Center, just the north and east of the launch field. They always have a really good time with that. And then Sunday, we've got the flights beginning at 6 a.m. again. Then on Friday as well, the celebrity speaker this year is a very accomplished balloonist. She has won almost every major award in the ballooning world. She had a 71-hour flight from Geneva, Switzerland to Portugal, which was pretty incredible. So lots of cool things going on. The Friday night cruise is Friday as well. So come out, enjoy, have fun, and yeah.
Where's she speaking?
Oh, that will be at the Spur. Great question. The Spur Steakhouse at 5 o'clock, 5 p.m. It's on the schedule on the back of the pamphlet. Her name is Sherry White.
That flight balloons are going to take off from where?
CWC Launch Field. It's the soccer fields on the north side of CWC, just to the east of the white water tank.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate your help there. That's a lot of hard work. I appreciate the brochures that are out, and boy, that is a fun activity. So anybody that would like to participate, Friday at 6 o'clock in the morning is when they're going to be putting those balloons up for the first time, and you can get further information. So we would like you to come and support us, and it's a lot of fun. They need lots of help to drag out those balloons and get them in the air. You know, as I was going through, I must have had the same thought process as the Riverton Ranger. The city staff report comes out on Friday, and I was looking through it. I think there's some real numbers that people need to know. Officer Lamar, from the 1st of June, has personally written 66 citations for left-hand turns on Federal. Kind of a fun note to that, if you go down through the report, one of the people that was cited came in and paid his citation within 9 minutes after receiving his citation. So he must have felt like he really did turn the wrong way, and he wanted to pay his debt to society, and I appreciate that. Another thing that really struck me interesting there is that our police department puts on a mounted patrol class quite often, and it's really growing. We're collecting participants from Utah, Colorado, South Dakota.
Missouri.
Missouri is the far-reaching one, and so people are coming from a long ways to participate into those activities, and that's just a really smart thing to do, because Wyoming and Riverton and horses all go together. I appreciate your efforts. The service calls from our police department, like the ranger was pointing out, just last week was 225 calls, 21 arrests, and 43 citations. Officer Larson has taken under his wing the city park and the splash pad. And I know this to be a fact because I was driving by one Saturday, and here was a police car parked, aimed right at the pad. So I pulled over and went over and said, "What are you doing?" He said, Chief said that I had to watch the park on any free moment that I had." And so we talked for a minute, and one of the baskets was hanging off its hinges and wasn't collecting water. So we went over, and it was too high for us to reach. But he went to look for a ladder, and I hope HR isn't listening, but I just grabbed the closest little guy and lifted him up, and he hooked it back on. So I do know that he is paying attention to City Park and the splash pad, and I really want to thank him for those efforts, and all of our police officers. They do a wonderful job. I really do appreciate their effort. The other thing that strikes me, and I just marvel at these numbers going through the report, the Riverton Municipal Court last week had 52 defendants on 119 charges, 55 alcohol-related, 40 traffic-related, 16 failure to pay warrant, 3 resisting, 2 disturbing the peace, 1 petty larceny, 1 shoplifting, which thrilled me because we worked hard on that, and a vicious dog. They currently have 2,223 active defendants out of our court. Of 1,169 having active warrants. That's amazing, the work that the girls handle and our court handles, and I think they do a wonderful job, and I wanted to point that out. Day in the Park was a great success. I'd like to thank everybody that had part in that. Went down and that came off really well. The engagement committee was greatly engaged in that. Cameron Faring put that on, and the booths were sprayed on the ground, and the park couldn't have looked better. The park was absolutely gorgeous. There wasn't the grass that we planted is still alive, and it's looking good. It's seaming together, and it couldn't have been a better arrangement. And a lot of local vendors, and it cost me dearly to walk through there, but it was worth it. And then our community enhancement meeting last night was really kind of special. And I had to sit by Bobby, but other than that, it was a really good meeting. And it really pointed out how many individuals are connected to the community in so many ways. And almost everybody there had a number of connections. And what I would encourage people that are watching and looking, I counted either 4 or 5 individuals that were just coming to hear what was available. The boards that need help, the Good Samaritan has 3 board members right now, and has for the last 15 years. And they would really welcome some new blood there, and almost anybody could serve on that committee. And so if you are a little bit inclined, please come and help us. Call City Hall, call myself, call Rebecca, call Corey. They have the numbers of people that are there that would like to be engaged in the community service. And I'm really pleased with that engagement committee because they have just done a wonderful job, and I appreciate their efforts. We have no need for executive.
No, Your Honor.
The chair would entertain a motion to adjourn the regular council meeting.
I'll move.
To adjourn.
Second.
Councilman Larson with the motion, and second by Corey Rhoda. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. We stand adjourned at 9:03.